What's going on, NBA 2K fans? It's Real 2K Insider. Today is 2K Rating Day. So, among the most divisive ratings that was released was Russell Westbrook's 78 overall rating. This is the same rating that it was in NBA 2K22. We're going to break down all of the attributes that Westbrook ended 2K22 with, as well as all the badges, and I'm going to give you all of my recommendations based on what his production was. He, to me, seems very low at a 78, especially for a player that played as much as he did. Obviously, Russ is a very controversial figure in the NBA. He did not play very well last season for the Lakers, but I mean, when you look at a 78, like Dwight Howard's got a 78. Um, like Kemba Walker was even worse than Russell Westbrook. He's a 78. Emmanuel Quickly's a 78. Cole Anthony was bad. He's a 78. You know, like we're just gonna break down all the Russell Westbrook attributes in the 2K roster. So let's hop in. I also made a document showcasing all of these. I'm gonna post that in the description as well, so you can read along. But let's get started with his attributes. And right off the bat, what is with this 74 driving layup attribute? Let's actually back out real quick because we need to just get some perspective on how bad 74 is. Because this is what Russell Westbrook is known for. This is like the one thing he's actually good at on offense is finishing at the rim. 74 layup. We see Dwight Howard's got a 77. Wayne Ellington, 77. Talen Horton-Tucker, 76, higher than Westbrook. Come on. Mac McClung, come on. Like, right off the bat, this was really bad. We're going to immediately boost this to a 90, and we can see that changes his archetype. It boosts his overall +1. There are a few attributes that we're going to come across that have a significant impact on Westbrook's rating. This is definitely an attribute that 2K is like intentionally holding low because he was 322 of 588 on layups this year per Basketball Reference. That's 55% from the field, 26% assisted rate. He was 62% at the rim. For his career, he's 60% at the rim. Like he's not a 74 layup. That's just fucking absurd. Um, Based on like his volume and like his percentage, like 55%. Like if he didn't have any kind of volume, like a Dwight Howard, for example, then maybe you could justify like a 74. But at the volume that he's at, taking the difficulty of shots that he does, come on, no. So I have it 90. Post fade, I made this a +4 and a 70. Um, 0.9 field goals attempts per 36. This is a fifth on the team on the Lakers, led by LeBron, 2.4, AD and Melo, 1.3, THT, 1.1 per 36 minutes. He's in the top 10 in point guards when it comes to fadeaways. Guys like Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, those are the two guys that are above 2 attempts per game. And Drew Holiday is like 1.3 or 1.4, something like that. So he's not elite at it, but I think a 70 is totally fine. Post hook, I've got this at a +5. He doesn't really do hook shots, but if you even like he was 4 for 10 this year, which is a .1 per attempts per 36. So like if it's sort of in your repertoire, I'll just like make 50 the floor, and anything lower than that is kind of reserved for like the point guards like who don't attempt post shots at all. I think it's reasonable because, again, Russell Westbrook is a pretty good post player. I've got him at the 65 post control, 1.3 possessions per 36 minutes. So he's posting up like at least once a game, and he's okay at it. I would grade an average point guard as like a 45, probably 45 to like 50. So like 65 post control is like average for like an average small forward. So I think that's a pretty reasonable way to like evaluate Westbrook's post game. He's got great strength for a point guard, and really the only guys who are posting up more than him are Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Uh, Chris Paul also posts up a lot. I forgot to mention him in the post fade segment. Okay, so draw foul. This is another attribute that is wildly underrated. I don't understand why it's only 50, as he was 5th on the team in free throw to field goal attempt rate. Notably, he drew more fouls than LeBron James last year. And I guess let's go out and check what's LeBron's rating here. Oh, a 95. Okay, huh. Go figure. Whereas Westbrook is down with Malik Monk and Austin Reeves. No. So let's boost that up to a 75 and keep an eye on that rating. Oh wow, we've got another +1. Oh god, more on this one in a second. Shot IQ 25. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Let's just finish off the shooting ratings. Okay. Close shot. I personally got this at a 79 +1. 2K's shot ratings not too much different than what I've got. I'm gonna boost his mid-range +4, his 3-point +4. Basically, I count a little bit more for like shot volume than 2K does. But close shot, the stats on that: 160 of 417 from the field last year, 38%. He was assisted on only 15% of these shots. His career average is 37%. So this is pretty much the standard Russell Westbrook experience. Ditto for the mid-range shot, 53 of 140. Also 38% from the field, 19% assisted rate, and a career 39% shooter. 3-ball, 53 of 140, 38%. Oh, no, sorry. 79 of 265. I reread the mid-range one again. 3-point shot, 79 of 265, 30%, 65% assisted, which is pretty low for a shooter his caliber. Career 31%. So that in itself, like, he's taking a lot of 3 balls off the dribble. That does affect his percentage a little bit. He was plus 40% on like corner threes, which are typically stationary. The problem is he's just taking way too many shots at the top of the arc, like off the dribble, that he really shouldn't be taking. Teams leave him open, so part of it is like, he's taking what the defense gives him. But you would like to see him take more like catch and shoot shots rather than like improvising off the dribble. I don't think that's doing anybody any favors. But for the most part, like I boosted these shot ratings just a little bit, but this is not quality NBA offense. Ideally, you want your 3-ball shooters to be in the 80s, and that's kind of the same for the close and mid-range shot as well. The NBA average is about like an 80 rating in both of these. And obviously, exceptional players like Kevin Durant, etc., are going to be in the 90s. So you want your offensive cogs your shot creators and whatnot to have shot ratings above a 79. Russ's peak rating being a 79 is not great. So even though his ratings went up, don't be deceived by that. He's still not an efficient offensive player. Free throw, he was 67% last year rather than 65, so yeah, we'll give a +2. And now let's get into his playmaking type ratings. Ball handle 86 is fucking absurd, to be honest. 11.3 on-ball possessions per 36 minutes for Russ. 6.0 pick and roll ball handler, 4.0 isolation, 1.3 post-up. And the plus 10, like when you're talking about like 10 plus possessions per 36, that's pretty much in that 90 territory if we compared this to other players in the NBA. Like, Russ has no problem creating his own shot. It's making the shots that's the problem. So I've got him at a 90 ball handle, which pumps him up a little bit. Pass vision, 32 assist percentage this year, 16th best rate in the NBA. So I've got him at a 79. Worth noting, he's got a career 42% assist rate, which is pretty good. Pass IQ, like he led the league in assist percentage 4 times, including in the previous season in 2021. So like, why is he really a 75? Like, playmaking is one of Russ's strengths, so I've got him at a 95. He is very turnover prone. At 1.86 assist turnover ratio. Again, like, he does get a fair amount of ball handling turnovers. And I wouldn't describe him as like the world's smartest player or anything like that, but um, yeah, like his pass ratings should be higher than what they were. Boosting his pass IQ by 20 points, that's going to boost his rating by another point. All right, let's get into like the defense, or actually, no, sorry. Let's what else do we got to cover? Oh, okay, shot IQ. This being a 25 is a fucking joke, to be clear. Let's back out, and we're gonna look at shot IQ for the rest of the league. We can see just relative to the Lakers, lower than Dwight Howard, but just going across the league, look for players with under a 50 rating. We've got a couple big men who are sub 50. Yep, same thing. Nobody under a 50. Ed Davis, 50. We've got RJ Nembhard, G League point guard, with a 50. Marcus Smart, 45. Again, so the shot IQ rating is basically 2K's way of trying to measure like shot selection. And the fact that Russ has like is 25 points for the most part, or 20 points lower than Marcus Smart and like everybody else by like 25 points. Most G Leaguers are like a 50. And like, come on, Udoka Azubuike has a higher shot IQ than Russell Westbrook. Come the fuck on. No. This is just like arbitrarily decreasing Russell Westbrook's rating. Again, Russell Westbrook is a 9-time All-Star and a former MVP. And we're going to be arguing that he's rated, that his shot IQ is lower than various two-way contract G League players and point guard. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. This is another example of like Thaddeus Young has great shot selection, but this is just 2K's way of trying to get his rating down. And like ditto for Andre Iguodala. Iguodala's got great shot selection, so this is just like another version of like intangibles for 2K. And like they're not even like consistent with it. Like if we look at other players with high shot IQ ratings, like Malik Monk and Talen Horton-Tucker are not exactly bastions of NBA shot selection, to be clear. Who else can we come across? Two-way player, Brandon Williams. He of the... What did he shoot from the field? Oh, it doesn't even show his stats in this, but he shot like 37% from the field off the top of my head, I think. Jordan Poole. He's known for his phenomenal shot selection. Who else? Oh, Elfrid Payton. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 98 for Elfrid Payton. 96 for David Johnson, he who played 2 minutes in the NBA this past year. Anyway, you guys get the gist of it. Like, this is a stupid rating for Westbrook, and this is not a long-term thing for him. We've always known that Russell Westbrook has garbage shot selection, but like, he was a 60 entering the season in NBA 2K22. And they just arbitrarily dropped it to 25. This is like if you gave a kindergartner the assignment. You know, like, it's just such an extreme measure that's not grounded in any type of reality. So, I've got Russell Westbrook at a 93 shot IQ. I'm slightly philosophically different than the way that 2K does it. I don't think that the way that they do it is... first of all, they're just throwing fucking darts at the wall, blindfolded, when they come up with some of these shot IQs. But I actually use the old formula that predates Mike Stauffer when he came in and like kind of instituted his like vision for the attribute, which is just like an arbitrary like shot selection, like finger quotes in the air. I use per 36 minutes, points, assists, and turnovers to calculate my shot IQ ratings, which is what 2K did prior to that with the offensive awareness rating back in the day. So I've got him on 93 under the old system. And hands rating, whatever. Like, he's a good rebounder, etc. He's not like super turnover prone relative to his like how much he handles the ball and everything. and it really doesn't affect the overall rating anyway. 47 offensive rebound rate, and then 72 defensive rebound rate, 4.4 offensive rebound percentage, and 18.8 defensive rebound percentage. No changes. 2K is usually on the ball with their rebound scales. It's worth noting that Westbrook was 9th in rebound rate, in defensive rebound rate in 2021 with 29%, which would equate to like a 90-something defensive rebound rate. So he did fall off a little bit with the Lakers, as obviously he's competing with LeBron James and other guys for rebounds, Anthony Davis, etc. It was a different situation than the one with the Wizards. And certainly Russ is known to, if he can pad his rebound numbers, he will. He wasn't able to as much as he normally does this year. But focusing on the rest of the stuff, interior defense, 42. This is pretty low. This is like the one good thing that Westbrook actually does. As we mentioned before, he has a lot of strength for a point guard. He is a good post player offensively, so it would reason that he is good defensively. Over his last 3 years, via synergy, 0.86 points per possession, 99 possessions that came to, which is approximately 68th percentile. Like, he's elite for a point guard, so I've got him at a 60 interior defense rating. Perimeter defense, same thing. I use synergy, 0.75 points per possession over the last 3 years. 95, that came to 95 possessions. Synergy isn't perfect, and I think there are better ways to evaluate defense. The guys at B-Ball Index, I'm trying to figure out ways to how to incorporate their data into like the 2K attributes. The way that 2K like defense works is kind of more in line with like how 90s defense worked. Everything was like more individual matchups and whatnot. Like, it's basically your ball handle rating versus the opponent's defensive rating. Or in the case of like in the post, it's your post up rating versus their post defense rating. And that's how a lot of the advantage is determined by like the AI systems. And that's not really how like NBA defense works anymore. Like, and there's so much switching and help that like these two attributes in the course of a modern NBA game in real life don't actually come up all that much. So like, even though Westbrook has like a 75 perimeter defense rating, he's not this actually doesn't show up all that much. Again, only 99 possessions over the last 3 years. That's, you know, for a player that plays as many minutes as he does, you know, like this isn't like he rates higher defensively in 2K than like kind of in practice in real life. But 42 block rating, he's 0.7 block percentage. Like, this is right on scale. 42 steal. I boost this by 20. I use the old steal scale. 2K like basically dropped everybody by 20 points on a couple years back, or they at least like modified the scale a little bit. But I don't have a problem like putting it this high. It's worth noting that this is Westbrook's career low for steal percentage. And the last 2 seasons were his only 2 years under 2%. 2% would be approximately like a 73. So he's been like in the 70s and 80s for most of his career up until very recently. So that's something worth keeping an eye on, as you know, his defense has been a major sticking point of why he hasn't been an effective player with the Lakers. You know, he hasn't been focusing on his defense as he's you know been aging up a little bit, especially I think as he was injured a little bit with the Rockets in 2020 and then the Wizards in 2021. So I think, you know, Father Time is undefeated. He is entering his age 34 season, so that could be a little bit of a factor. But you would like to see Russ rebound here a little bit in future seasons, especially if he's going to be continuing his NBA career any further beyond this season. And I dropped his shot contest. This attribute, like, barely even, most people don't even know it exists, I think, as it hasn't been available on the quick edit menu for like the last few years. It doesn't affect the overall rating at all. It's just like, and 2K doesn't even adjust it. So he's had this 86 shot contest rating for the past like 10 years or so, however long Russ has been in the league. So I don't have a problem dropping it. He's not like a crazy shot blocker or attentive defensive player, putting it lightly. Going over to his athleticism, continuing along with the defense thing. First of all, look at these attributes. for his athleticism, he's entering his age 34 season, and he's got the attributes of like 23-year-old Russ. This is fucking ridiculous, to be honest. So I basically dropped all of them by like 6 points. As like, again, watching the tape of Westbrook, like, he's still fast, but he's not like fastest player in the league fast. And yeah, the 75 strength, like, they don't even understand their own like scales. I've got him at a 60. He's 6'3", 200 is what he's listed at. Like, again, like, he's got great strength for a point guard. He doesn't play the 4. He's not even playing the 3. Like, if you played him up positions, he would get bullied. So he doesn't need a 75 strength. Come on. And there are also other badges and stuff to account for, like, he finishes well through contact, which is like the main argument for him having like a high like strength rating, like functionally. But there are multiple badges that already cover that nowadays, so I've got him at a 60. 92 stamina, minor boost to a +3. He played 94, 34 minutes per game, which is 26th in the NBA. And then the hustle rating, we're going to drop that by 5 points. As mentioned, I just used deflections for the most part to evaluate hustle rating. He had 1.9 deflections per 36, which was 9th on the team. I've looking at deflections, like, I feel like it's a good barometer. Like, the players who are pesky in the passing lanes are usually the players like the Patrick Beverleys of the world, or the Marcus Smarts, who are the guys that you're going to be considering the high hustle guys anyway. So Russ being 9th, again covered in his steal rating. And by the way, steals and deflections are not the same thing. Deflections mean you tip the ball, whereas steals were like a successful, you successfully gained possession. So like they're kind of like potential steals. And the definition for hustle is like has a nose for the ball. So like guys who get lots of deflections, I would argue that they have a good nose for the ball. But anyway, it's, dropping him 5 points. Again, he's getting older. He's entering his age 34 season. He's not, Russell Westbrook 5 years ago would have had a hustle rating in like the 90s to be sure. But, come on, 80's fine. Yeah, let's get into durability. I ignore all these bullshit body part ratings. 2K does too. They haven't updated these in years. So, I mean, these don't affect the overall rating either. Whatever ailments Westbrook has had over the, I forget what his injuries were. I think something was a hip, maybe, I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But his durability rating is a 95. I dropped that to a 90. 92% of games played, or did I actually boost that when I wasn't looking? I don't know. In my notes, I have him as a 92 default, but he could be 95. Either way, oh, never mind. It is a -5. He's played 92% of games in his career, so I round that down to a 90 rating. He played 78 games this year, 78 of 82, which is 95%. The past 2 seasons, he played 122 of 144, which was 85%. So again, you split the difference between his career and his recent history, and he's about a 90. Going over to his mental attributes, the 55 pass perception is like another, like 2K is also arbitrarily making this way too low. As mentioned before, Russell Westbrook, his career steal rate is a 2.4%. He's been very high up until very recently. So, like, I look at this as, like, the pass IQ for, like, defense. And, like, again, Russell Westbrook has led the league in assist rate 4 times in his career. He's a high IQ passer. And kind of the same thing. Up until very recently, he was a high IQ pass lanes guy. And I'm not ready to drop him down to a 55 yet. Even I think that rating is low. If you wanted to really measure him based on like last season's performance only, then sure, drop it to a 60. But I still think that Russ has the potential to be an 80 in this area. Obviously, if his steal rate continues to not to kind of bottom out, drop him accordingly. I would probably then drop him to like a 70. But I think for now, like 80 or even like 75 is totally fine. I'll do the consistency ratings last, since they're out of order for whatever fucking reason. So let's do help defense. 2K's got this at a 70, which is like Still too high. I dropped this to a 65. A 1.08 points per possession over the last 3 years in spot-up defense, which is how I evaluate like help defense. The reason I use that as like my evaluator for help defense is if you helped too much and left the shooter open, then you weren't offering very good help. So over the last 3 years, spot ups, he got killed on spot ups, approximately 30th percentile there. Worth noting that he was 59th percentile this year, but the previous 2 years, he was brutal. So I've got him at a 65. And worth noting that like a 75 is the league average, which is kind of how I scale things out. So if he was so 30th percentile, he'll be like a 65. If he was 70th percentile, that would have been like an 85. Whereas like 50th percentile would just be like a 75. And this is more or less how 2K, like I'm not inventing these numbers. This is how 2K evaluates the attribute, more or less. Pick and roll defense, same thing. 75 is is an average player defensively, and that's basically what Westbrook is. He used to be a pick and roll defense is another attribute similar to shot contest. Like it's not available on the quick edit menu, and 2K stopped adjusting this rating a couple years ago, even though it's still in the game. So over the last 3 years, 0.85 points per possession. Over the last 3 years, he was 44th percentile this year, and I believe that was like 236 possessions this year. Point guards rack up a lot of possessions in the pick and roll. So again, 200 something possessions just this year alone. When we compare that to 99 possessions on the isolation, and then 95 for the post interior defense, whatever you want to call it. It's funny, like this attribute again doesn't even count towards the overall. Yet it's actually like the bulk of where like a point guard's defense is coming from. But yeah, Russ is just average here, or even slightly below average. 44th percentile this year. Like you could make the argument to like drop him down to a 70. It's not really worth splitting hairs over, as again, it doesn't even affect the overall rating. So going over the consistency ratings, this is another one that where like 2K arbitrarily lowered Russ. He's not worst player in the NBA bad. He's not a G leaguer. He's a fucking starter. You can argue that he's a bad starter, but he's still a starter. He's like the 25th best point guard in the NBA, or top 25, the 25th best starting point guard in the NBA. There's a lot of players in the NBA who aren't starters. There's a lot of players in the NBA who aren't even playing. So I use box plus minus to evaluate my consistency ratings, and they come out really good. So I might cover that one day in another video, but negative 0.7 offensive box plus minus. A 0 would be average. A 0 would be 70. So at a negative 0.7, I've got Russ at a 65. And it's worth noting that this is his career low, by the way. So last season obviously was the worst year of his career. His career average is a 3.7. This would essentially be at like a 99. And then his previous season in 2021 with the Wizards, it was a 2.6, which is effectively like a 95. So he completely bottomed out this year. A 65 is a bad rating. You don't need to go to such extreme levels to make Russell Westbrook a bad player. Like, we're talking about the degree of bad that we're talking is like kind of what matters here. He's not a 40. Like, if we just go into other players' offensive consistencies, he's more consistent. If anybody watched Kent fucking Bazemore play last season, he have like the 5 player efficiency rating. He was not that bad. Oh god, here's another player that they're like arbitrarily keeping low. But like, Stanley Johnson's got a 65. He of the, like, ugh. I don't want to go exploring too much, but, oh, geez, Ben Simmons is an 85. Like, if you're going to make Ben Simmons an 85 and Russell Westbrook a 40, I don't really know what to tell you. Gordon Dragic was ass this year. He's a 60. Compazzo, like, Austin fucking Rivers is a 45. Like, I don't need to go far to, like, again, Russ was 16th in assist rate. So even with his inefficient shooting, relative to like his volume, like he was still contributing on offense to some degree. He was not completely abominable. So I've got him at a 65. And then defense, 2K actually has him overrated in defensive consistency. As again, like he bottomed out this year. He was a negative 0.9 defensive box with minus. That ties his career low, which is it's basically what he had as a rookie season. Obviously, this was Russ's worst season since his rookie season. Career, he's a plus 0.5, which is essentially like 75. And his last year with the Wizards, he was a 1.1, which is like an 80. So, again, I think net-wise, what did I... This is a plus 25 and then a minus 10. So, like, he's below average in both. That's the important takeaway here. He's just not, like, the worst player in the NBA bad when it comes to offense. That's just going too extreme. And then intangibles. So most people by now know that this is like the 2K's ultimate Band-Aid attribute. They will drop players all the way to a 25 if they want to get their rating lower, or they will max players out to a 99 if they want to get their rating higher. I use this in my roster to, like the shooting guard formula was messed up in 2K22. Shooting guards were coming out way too low. So pretty much all the shooting guards in my roster I had to give a 99. Because the shooting guards nowadays aren't really creating their shot off the dribble very much. And the formula is kind of accounting for like the Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant's, Dwayne Wade's, like the older shooting guard that doesn't really exist anymore in like today's NBA. Most shooting guards nowadays are like secondary playmakers and like off-ball shooters, like a Duncan Robinson. They're 3-and-D players that don't really do much handling of the ball, or if they do, it's like a CJ McCollum or Colin Sexton or whatever. It's like tertiary playmaking. So only a handful of players will have a high rating. Therefore, you need to boost up their intangibles rating in order to get them like weighted relative to the rest of the NBA. Otherwise, all your shooting guards are going to come out way too low. They'll get traded for like non-starters in at other positions in like your My GM or My League, whatever it's called nowadays. And like centers, for example, I would do the opposite because the system like looks at their rebound rating and they're like, whoa, this player is incredible, and like that's not really true anymore. Like big men that like centers nowadays, as you guys know, are like being slowly like phased out of the league. You have to be really good to be in the NBA as a center nowadays. Like, and it's also evaluating like players who are post skill have like high like block ratings, defensive rebound ratings, and post ability have way too high ratings, overall ratings. Like Hassan Whiteside would be the perfect example. Like 2K has to jump through hoops to get that guy like rated under an 80, and he's only playing like 15 minutes a game. So like the role that he plays for his team is no longer reflected in his rating. So you have to those are the extreme situations where you have to bottom these guys out. Russell Westbrook is not one of those extreme situations because as we went through before, like the reason why he's rated way too high, or at least rated high enough that they think that they need to do this, is because his athleticism ratings, again, he's 34, not 24. All they had to do was just do -5, boom, and that in itself would have, gives him a -1 overall rating or whatever. You don't need to do all this. So let's hop on out real quick. So just making those attribute changes, again, we have like 4 or 5 extreme attributes, boosts. Like it was like +20 to the pass IQ, +68 to the shot IQ. plus 25 to his offensive consistency, plus 16 to his driving layup. Those four attributes alone got him to an 82, even with us reducing his speed rating, his athleticism ratings. So this is also with the athleticism rating extremely low. I mean the intangibles rating extremely low. So what happens if we just boost Westbrook to an 80? Boom. He's an 85 overall rating. To me, that's obviously way too high. An 85 is like a borderline all-star caliber of player. So clearly something's off. And this is why 2K is dropping his intangibles rating to such lengths. Because we can't have him this high. How can we get him lower? Well, the answer to that is you could redo his 52 badges, most of which are gold. We're going to get into the badges in a bit, but first I want to actually show you a highlight video of Russell Westbrook from this season. Yes, we're actually going to watch highlights of Russell Westbrook this year rather than the lowlights. I know everybody loves like the airball stuff and like shots off the top of the backboard. That like Russ was. Those are the clips that like everybody, really attached to on like social media and whatnot. But like Russ did do good things on the court, and we need to see what those things are because we need to see what degrees we're going to be decreasing some of these badges to. Obviously, like gold in all his layup ratings. I don't think that's necessary anymore. It's funny though, by the way, that he's got a 74 layup rating and then like gold and like acrobat and stuff like that. That to me is kind of like a little bit absurd. But yeah, let's just hop right in.
They brought in the 57 All-Star selections, most of any team all time.
Get Russell off a screen, going to his strong hand. The adjustment beautiful.
That's good defense by Reeves. And he gets the pass from Russ at the other end.
I tell you, that young man is going to be a player. I mean, he's already a player, but another look at that assist from Westbrook caused by the good defense of Austin Reeves.
Oh, those are the
Austin gets the easy hoop because of the good defense.
Westbrook looking for 31 and does it with a dunk.
Westbrook splitting two of our guys, and before you can get to the block, he's off his feet.
More to ISO ball again and then don't get anything. Davis leaks out. Giannis coming hard. Davis caught a body.
104-98. Russell Westbrook pass quick to the basket for a jam.
Oh my goodness, vintage. And look at Jeremy Grant. He never saw him. The only guy who saw him was Hamidou Diallo.
With the way he defends and as tough as he is, if he can shoot anywhere near those numbers.
Russell Westbrook, beast mode, juiced up.
Well, 50 points now in the paint on that resounding slam from Russell Westbrook.
And the rebound to James. Killian Tilly comes in for Jaren. Going out with two early fouls. And Horton Tucker jackhammers that down, and the Lakers lead it 10-8.
The Thunder defense as well, as they have stolen 10 steals as well in 3 of their last 5 games. To put it simply, guys.
Here, George, thank you. As Porzingis misses. Westbrook skies for the rebound. Westbrook drives, trying to draw contact. He does. Count it, and one.
This looks like a young Russell Westbrook when he just have a full head of steam and attack the box.
James drives, kicks it out in the corner. Westbrook, corner shoot, his jumper, got it! Russell Westbrook, his first three-pointer of the night.
Even when you get the guy shooting from the area you want him shooting, they still have the talent to knock it in.
Westbrook, 23 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists.
Good help that hit that time by Davis. Gets an easy hoop.
Towns turns it over. He thought he got hit. Westbrook gets a step on Vanderbilt, gets the finish.
Absolutely, as we said already, the best to our teammate, Stacey King. A lob to DeAndre Jordan from Russell Westbrook starts the scoring for the Lakers. In the hands of Westbrook. Left hand gets the roll. Good closeout on Ellington. Westbrook. Oh, what a scoops it home, man.
No respect to Jalen Green on his drives.
Closing seconds of the third. Westbrook for three.
There's not always going to be a whistle, but as a guard, you can't turn the basketball over.
We're being told that they're... Oh, LeBron!
To keep the ball from behind the arc.
LeBron scoops it out to Russ. He's going to tap the cup good. To LeBron.
As we get another look at the driving dish by Russell Westbrook.
Here's Horton Tucker. Thrown right to heel. From behind. Russ has got it up. With the ball, Utah now. Their bench is just 2 out of 12 from beyond the arc. Russ! Throw it down! Throw it down, Russ!
Getting into the paint and then exploding. Did he ever explode over the top of Gobert? Oh, wow. That's
Side of the Rockies. Taken now by Westbrook. Fouls off. Baseline movement by Avery Brown. All but 4 shots have been from beyond the arc for him this year. Russ with the stutter step. He's going to go all the way. Throw it in with the left hand from the shoulder.
how he got that shot to go. Another look at Westbrook's last basket with the left hand. Somehow throws it up and
And just goes right around Reeves. No resistance at the rim. Oh, my goodness.
Russell Westbrook.
Lakers down 17. Horton Tucker and Anthony in off the bench is Westbrook. Acrobatic shot.
Russell Westbrook doing a good job. A little pick and roll there with DeAndre Jordan and the left hand scoop.
54 against the Magic a year ago. Highest point total ever. Throw it down, LeBron. Throw it down.
nice backdoor again. They overplayed LeBron and good recognition for LeBron.
Get it into Achua. Back over to Barnes. Going for the steal. They get it. Raptors lead by 3. Westbrook puts it up and it goes. Is it a 2 or is it a 3? Is on the line. Let's see right here. Right there, the right. But he steps back.
That's the only run, if you even want to call it that they've been on this year.
Nice feed, and Howard dunks it down. Foul is called.
We are knotted at 59, 7 seconds to go for Westbrook. Went 50 in a row. He caught a boogie body.
Hey, feeling young, but they treat me like the OG. And they want the T on me. I swear these bitches nosy. Said he put some.
Okay, I missed the dunk ratings. Russ has a 30 standing dunk rating, which again for a guy of his athleticism, no, he's not within 5 points of DJ Augustine. I personally got that like at a 40. It doesn't really matter until you get to like the 50s, but this attribute does affect the overall rating for players, so plus 10's fine. The driving dunk, I actually reduced this to a 65. Having watched that clip, Russ had some really ferocious dunks. But again, I mentioned he only dunked. I said 20 times, but it was only 17 times he dunked this year. So like the games he did have were very memorable, but it was only 2% of his field goal attempts. And again, we're watching highlights. Like he was 17 of 26 on his dunk attempts, so he missed 9 dunks this year. Only 65% from the field on his dunks. Like, again, like, don't get. I try not to get too soaked in by like the highlights. On the year, he's a 65 dunker. For his career, he dunked an average of 4% of his field goal attempts in his career. He's basically the best dunking point guard in NBA history. But again, he's entering his age 34 season. His athleticism has declined. That dunk that he had on Gobert, he used to be doing that every day. And now it's just like once or twice a season. So I'm totally down with dropping his dunk rating. He's still going to have, you look at like Kendrick Nunn's dunk rating. I don't remember if I have Kendrick Nunn at a 75. This is the 2K roster. But like, the difference between Kendrick Nunn and or Mason Jones and Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook's going to have dunk badges that enable him to do those. He'll have posterizer to some degree. That's going to allow him to every now and then dunk on a guy like a Gobert or whatnot. Whereas these guys do not have those badges. It's going to be much harder for them. Obviously, notwithstanding, Russell Westbrook has a 90 ball handle rating, whereas those guys are probably much lower. So he's going to be getting himself into those situations more frequently anyway. But anyway, let's jump into the badges now. I just wanted to touch on the dunk rating just a little bit and what I've done with it. So I haven't just been boosting Russ's ratings. I did drop his dunk rating by 15 points. But yeah, jumping into his badges, and these are kind of annoying to like adjust within the 2K menu. So I'm just going to be going over each category and then showcasing what I changed, and then I'll load my my actual roster rather than go through and making all the adjustments. But so he's got a number of gold badges, and what I did was I reduced Fast Twitch, Fearless Finisher, and Giant Slayer to silvers, as we are accounting for the fact that like Russ is getting older. He is declining as a finisher. I did leave Acrobat as gold. It's based on that clip. He does have a lot of like a lot of his layups have a high degree of difficulty. There is no arguing that. And the rest, like his Fearless Finisher, like silver is good for a point guard. Dropping him from gold to silver is not like an indictment or anything. Most point guards should not have Fearless Finisher, but Russ does. Giant Slayer is again like factoring in like he's got great strength and whatnot, and big men don't phase him at all. But again, he's not close to the player that he was in his prime. Posterizer being gold, like I dropped this to a bronze, or did I? Okay, I just forgot to notate it. I did drop this to a bronze. As again, not really. He had some flashy poster dunks. All of what, 3 in that clip? But 3 is not 30. So a bronze, I think, is totally fine. I dropped Limitless Takeoff. And unstrippable. Unstrippable, like again, he's kind of turnover prone, so that was just like me trying to account for that. And Lob City Finisher, I took completely away as that and Teardropper. We watched that video. Did we see any floaters from Russ? We did not, because he only attempts 0.2 floaters per 36 minutes. That is 1 floater attempted every 5 games. He's generally attacking the rim. He's not settling. He never or he's taking a jumper off the dribble. He's never he's never attempting a floater or anything. So I removed this completely from him. And Lob City Finisher. Again, did we see any alleys in that clip? No, we did not. He's not that type of player anymore. Maybe he was, back in his OKC Thunder days, but again, not at age 34. So we removed the silver. So part of what makes Russell Westbrook rate so highly is the fact that he's got like all these high quality badges that just need to be decreased. I did add a couple badges. I added Back Down Punisher and Mouse in the House, as these are like, it's just like a slight nod to his post-up ability that isn't reflected anywhere in his in his badge profile, I just gave him a bronze in both of them, which is totally fine, reasonable, I think. As anytime, with Mouse in the house, anytime Russ does have a mismatch, he will usually attack, which is also why he's got back down Punisher as well, as that's pretty much how he's attacking when he posts up. He's using his strength advantage over over another smaller player. Looking at his shooting ratings, what did I change here? So I gave him a difficult shots as a +1 to a silver. Circus threes I added. Corner specialist I added. Limitless spot up I added. Lucky number 7 -1. Mismatch expert and rhythm shooter I both dropped down to bronze. I said -1 for lucky 7, but I meant I dropped it from silver to bronze. Blinders I removed. Green Machine and Hot Zone Hunter I removed. And set shooter I removed. My argument for set shooter being removed, increases shot rating when taking your time before shooting. Russ was the most open player in the NBA last season, and he only shot 30%. So no, taking his time really didn't improve his shot percentage. But I'm okay with him having stop and pop, because boost rating on stand still 3-pointers after dribbling. Well, we saw in that clip a couple times where he did that. Again, he's only assisted on 65% of his threes, whereas most catch and shoot guys are 90% of the time they're assisted. So he's taking a lot of shots in motion off the dribble. So stop and pop I kept on him. Any other notes? I gave him limitless spot up because he's 11 of 40 on 30-footers in his career. 2 for 7 over the last 2 years. Doesn't seem like a lot. The badge itself is very begrudging, but 11 of 40, believe it or not, is a lot relative to other NBA players. It would be more than most, a lot. The Orlando Magic don't have anybody on their team that's hit more than either 5 or 7 in their entire careers. Obviously, they're a young team, but I'm just Kevin Durant, believe it or not, who's got probably a gold limitless spot on. Let's check him out real quick. KD, yeah, has gold limitless. And what is the other one? Chef? Does he have Chef? He's got gold Chef and he's got gold limitless. Russell Westbrook has hit more threes from 30 feet in his career, which is what we decline as deep range, what 2K is using for these badges. Kevin Durant is 9 of 42 in his career. Russell Westbrook is 11 of 40. So we're either giving Russell Westbrook a bronze, or we're removing the badge from Kevin Durant completely. I chose to give Russell Westbrook a bronze. So it is a very begrudging badge. I will say that. Going over to his playmaking, bullet passer, I mostly dropped a handful of things, as again, he's got 19 badges, and this is where most of his value comes from. And it's worth noting that the changes that I made to finishing and shooting, they did not drop his overall rating at all, even though I decreased the quality of a number of his badges. Once I got done with playmaking, that actually dropped. The playmaking changes I'm about to make drop his overall rating by 2 points. So the badges are accounting for a lot of a player's rating. We're dropping bullet passer, glue hands, stop and go to silvers. I'm dropping stop and go because he's not, as we saw in that clip, he doesn't do much. He's all or nothing. He's pedal to the metal. He's not really changing speeds very much. So in fact, you could probably even make an argument for dropping him to a bronze or something like that. This just isn't really part of his game. I dropped Needle Threader to a bronze, as again 1.6 assist to turnover ratio. his defense, his passes aren't getting by the defense that much. Special delivery, I dropped. There it is. As again, he's not really throwing any lobs with any kind of regularity. You might even be able to just remove that completely. Unpluckable, I dropped again for like the turnover, for turnover purposes. But the main things that I did, where the overall rating drop is coming from, is space creator. Improves a player's ability to create space from a defender, i.e. step backs. Westbrook does not do step backs. If we compared him to Luka Doncic or James Harden, it would not be close. Westbrook takes he takes 0.3 step backs per 36 minutes. This is one of the lowest rates for a starting point guard or a starting guard in the NBA. I believe Harden and Luka are something like 5 or 6 step backs per game. So it would take Russell Westbrook like half the season to get to the number of step backs that Harden or Luka have in a single game. So 2K's got this at a gold. It's worth noting, by the way, like this is the 2K22 badges. 2K23, there are a bunch of badges that they got rid of, like Hot Zone Hunter went the way of the Dodo, Space Creator. They basically rebranded the badge, so like it's not even a playmaking badge anymore. It's now a shooting badge, and it like more accurately reflects like what it does, like the step backs. It's basically like step back shooting badge or whatever. I don't remember the name of it. We'll figure it out once 2K23 comes out. But I completely removed this badge, and then I completely removed Floor General. Regardless of what you think of like the rest of Russell Westbrook's career, for him to have a gold Floor General after the garbage season that he had, like again, this is the fucking laziness of 2K Sports. They dropped his intangibles to a 25. They dropped his shot IQ to a 25. They dropped his offensive consistency to a 40. But the man has a fucking gold Floor General badge. Do your fucking job. So removing those two badges completely basically dropped his rating by 2 full points. Do your fucking job. You wouldn't need to do all this intangibles bullshit. Moving on to defense. By the way, I think my assessment and vitriol is very warranted. I've gone about this, I'm breaking shit down for the people, and that's just not acceptable. And if 2K23 has Russell Westbrook with completely unchanged badges, and he enters the year with a fucking gold Floor General badge, they deserve all the criticism they're going to get. That's going to be one of the first things that I look for when I get 2K23. And finishing off with the defensive changes, I removed like 5 badges from him here, and then decreased a couple things. He's got gold Rebound Chaser. I brought that down to silver. He basically got the gold because, as I mentioned a while ago, with the rebound stats, he was 9th in rebound rate, in defensive rebound rate the last year with the Wizards. He doesn't need to have a gold badge based on like his production last year. So like silver here, bronze here with box, and then bronze with worm. Russell Westbrook is among the best rebounding guards in NBA history. There aren't many but he's not Dennis Rodman. There aren't many guards who have rebounding badges, specifically not like worm or box out. So just having him at a bronze in either of those is just like an accomplishment in itself. Chase down artist, we saw in that video that he had a couple blocks in like chase down situations, but he only had 20 blocks on the year. Like I completely removed this badge. It's not necessary. You can make an argument for bronze just because he does it every now and then, but like again, 20 blocks on the year, 80 games, so that's 1 block every 4 games, and like maybe half of them were chase downs. Like that's not a silver. Hustler, I dropped that down to bronze. We broke that down with like his hustle rating before. Again, he's in his 30s. He doesn't need to have like a super high hustle rating. Interceptor, I dropped down to a bronze. As mentioned previously, with the steals stats, he had the worst steal rate of his career. You could make an argument for removing it. I chose to keep it on based on the rest of his career. If his steal rating or his steal rate is not up to snuff, then go ahead and remove it. And then stuff like clamps, ankle braces, pick dodger. A lot of this shit is from like 3 years ago, bro. Like, he's not a good defensive player anymore. So I removed those bronzes. And tireless defender reduces energy loss when exerting effort on defense. You tell me, like, Russell Westbrook hasn't exerted energy on defense, and Frank Vogel would have creamed himself if Russell Westbrook exerted energy on defense last season. Like, Darvin Ham's asking him to get this badge, and it's like, good luck. So, I wanted to break. I guess now that we're talking about the coaching and whatnot, like, let me break into the my actual roster just so you can see what I've got Westbrook at. That's my file, by the way. If you want to download it in the last couple days, as I've been keeping up to date all through the year and will in 2K23 as well. Make those changes. Remove 8 badges net from Westbrook. He had 52 in the 2K roster, which is kind of crazy. I dropped him down to 44 badges. An 83 overall rating. Again, we're talking about like fit versus ability, I think, with Westbrook. Like, his fit on this team is not good. That's the main problem. Like, this is a LeBron James team. Historically, LeBron James has turned like spot-up shooters into gold. Like, the guys like Daniel Boobie Gibson, you know, were like, he became a household name however many years ago. He's played with so many guys like Alex Caruso, Matthew Dellavedova. He made careers. He made lots of money for fringe NBA players throughout his career, because all you have to do is just defend and shoot. And that's not Russell Westbrook. That's never been his game. So, like, asking him to remodel his game next to, like, an AD kind of needs that too. Like, if you're going to turn, like, Russell Westbrook was just standing around a lot of the time offensively. And that's not his fault. Like, he is what he is. You need to put the ball in his hands in order for him to perform at, like, his peak level. Now, whether or not that's a good idea for a contending team is a completely different discussion. But for what he is, like, individually, an 83 overall rating is fine. He would play better on a team that could better utilize his talents. The Lakers need a guy like Patrick Beverley at the point guard. You know, a 3-and-D point guard is precisely what a LeBron AD team needs. You know, they had like Avery Bradley as their point guard the year they won. But where was I going? Hold on. So, like, compare this to other point guards in the NBA, in my roster at least. Like, don't sleep on Mark Fultz, by the way. But, like, looking at the rest of, like, Orlando, you're telling me that, like, Russell Westbrook wouldn't start over, like, Cole Anthony, and he's not better than, like, if you look at what Cole Anthony did last season, Russell Westbrook blows that out of the water, even in, like, a diminished with diminished production. Spencer Dinwiddie was awful for half the season last year with the Washington Wizards, before having like a bit of a resurgence next to Luka. Yes, he's a better shooter than Russell Westbrook, but like he's still ball dominant and like didn't really mesh with Bradley Beal in the first half of the year. But that didn't mean that like he ceased to be like a good, you know, his skill set didn't diminish because he was a bad fit. He just needed to find a better situation. Whether or not Westbrook's going to be able to find that situation via like trade and buyout remains to be seen. I'm obviously like, based on this entire clip, you probably think I'm a huge Russell Westbrook defender. I'm not. I can't stand Westbrook, like most people, because he just reminds me a little bit of too much of like Allen. Like he's the most stubborn player in the NBA. Or least self-aware. He should be adapting his game to become like a Bruce Brown type of player. He would be the like peak Bruce Brown. Like, Bruce Brown's invented his own archetype of, like, he's 6'4", but plays power forward and sets screens and, like, is able to, attack the rim. That's what they want, coaches want out of Russell Westbrook, but he's just not at all willing to do that. He did that for, like, one game last year and then, like, never again. And so Westbrook needs to adapt and commit if he's going to fit on the Lakers. But if he's not going to adapt, then, like, other teams that I could see him making sense on, like, he would obviously be the best player on the Rockets. Like, he shouldn't be a 78. Like, he's a better player than Jalen Green or whatever, but they're just in a completely different, they're rebuilding. Teams that are rebuilding don't need an aging star. When you're not, and also, like, the problem with Russell Westbrook's efficiency, and I should have covered this before, is his usage rate, his shooting efficiency has dropped, but his usage rate has also dropped. Like, he's taken fewer shots next to LeBron and AD, but his efficiency did not go up. That was part of the problem. His shots quality didn't get any easier next to two great players. So that's partly why he needs to just have the ball in his hands. Like, these key shot ratings, again, like, just looking at what other players have, like, when your star players are in the mid-80s, this is, like, ideal. Or even if we go to, like, the Nets, well, like, Kyrie and KD, this is what you want from a high-volume guy. But Russell Westbrook, like, he should... These are... When he had, like, a mid-30s usage rate, these shot ratings were fine. But he only had a 27 usage rate last season, so it's, like, not even... The shots that he's taking aren't even theoretically that difficult. So... I don't know. He needs to take smarter shots, or just... I don't know how it's going to work with the Lakers. I don't think it's going to work with the Lakers. I'm hoping that there's a trade between now and the end of the season. What's the team that I think he makes sense on? Like, the teams that want to be in... the Wizards. So, he had a pretty good statistical season with the Washington Wizards. They're trying to make the play-in. Like, they're perennially contending for the 8th seed. They only have Monte Morris and DeLon Wright at point guard. So, like, he actually would be an upgrade there. And I think he played reasonably... Like, I don't think there was any bad blood with the trade. And, like, the reason they traded him is because of his contract. Because he was making close to $50 million. And they were able to get, like, multiple role players. But if they were able to sign him for, like, the minimum, like, what team wouldn't want Russell Westbrook in the minimum? Probably a lot of teams because of his mental state and, like, how he approaches the game. Washington, I think, is one of those few teams that would be open to, like, just signing him as a free agent. And, like, being willing to give him, like, a starting role. Beyond that, like, there's not really any other, like, playoff teams that really need him. Maybe injuries hit one of these teams. Like, let's say De'Aaron Fox got hurt or something. Like, Russell Westbrook could totally slot in and in their quest for, like, the 8th seed. But in terms of, like, contenders, like, he's just a poor man's version of what Ja Morant. Ja Morant is the new Russell Westbrook, right? So, like, any young team, for the most part, usually has, like, they've got their rising star point guard. There aren't really any, like... Yeah, there's just no... Even like, the Sixers with Tyrese Maxey. Although James Harden's probably never going to play with Russell Westbrook again. And I imagine the fit would be just abominable with Embiid, oh god. This would be, like... This would be even worse than the one with the Lakers, to be honest. But, yeah, I think it's kind of Wizards or bust. But, thank you guys for watching this video. I think we'll end it there. Be on the lookout for some 2K23 content. Again, check out all the documents, the video, all those links in the description. And I'm going to be releasing my spreadsheets this year. It's my 20th anniversary of doing NBA 2K ratings. So I'm going to be allowing access to my spreadsheets. I worked on the spreadsheet, like building it up during the pandemic. It's the most comprehensive 2K document out there, period. And yeah, I spent like 3 years bringing it to this point where I'm like willing to make it public. And because it's my 20th anniversary, $20 I think is a pretty fair donation price, whatever, in order to get not monthly access, but year-long access to the document. So that's something. If you're interested in that, I'm going to be releasing somewhere the exact details on how to do that. I haven't decided if I'm going to be doing like PayPal or Cash App or what's the best like legal avenue to do all that, and like all that. I just enjoy doing ratings and player evaluations and like all that other stuff is just like I kind of just do this for fun. If people want to throw money at me, great, but it's not like a huge priority for me. So I don't really advertise myself like I used to. I'm not big on, I don't even post my roster on like forums or anything. The people who know me, they download my work pretty consistently. And you can follow me on Twitter. That's where most people know me from for the last couple of years, I guess. You can follow me on Twitter at Real2KInsider. If you want to download my roster, it's the same user ID. Search by content name. Yeah, you just search Real2K also. And that should pop up the files. This is on the PS4, by the way. I guess not. Real2K. Hey, somebody's downloading my stuff. Wow. Let's actually check this out while we're here. Okay, somebody's uploading my stuff. Okay. Where's my actual file? This doesn't pop up on the main thing. I just want to see my download count on the year. Real2K Insider. 136 downloads, or 136K downloads on the year. I got 322 updates. So, like about once a day since 2K22 came out, give or take. So that's the degree of what, hopefully you liked this this video, how in-depth we got with Russell Westbrook. Guess what? I do this for every NBA player in the league. All 500 of them, for the most part, give or take. Like, I slack a little bit on the G Leaguers sometimes, depending on how much time I have available to me. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and keep an eye out for future 2K content. Peace.